So solving quadratic equations by factoring. So now when your instruction is solve, what your goal is to find the x value that will make the solution true. So you're looking for solutions. Right? Solutions are the particular numbers that if you plug in will make the statement true, both sides equal to each other. So the way we do this, one of the ways we do this with quadratic equations is using this principle of zero products or zero factor property, something like that. And what it is if A times B equals 0, the only way that you can have a product multiplication that equals 0 is either A has to be 0 or B has to be 0. Now I'm using the conjunction or, but really, right, well, because, right, if either of them is true, then those would be solutions, but that means they both are solutions. So you want to give me both even though it is an or. Okay, so I kind of have this path that I like to take my students along. So if 5x is 0, what does x have to be for this to be true? Right? So, well, 5 is not 0, so that's not the 0. So that means that the x, right, has to be 0. It's the only way I can get a product equal to 0. If 7 times x minus 9 equals 0, right, one of the factors has to be 0. So the factors, let's make sure we know what the factors are on the left-hand side. Right? So my factors are 7 is a factor and x minus 9 is a factor. So there's two parts to that multiplication. So the 7 is not 0, it's 7. So that means x minus 9 has to be 0. And the only x value that will make x minus 9 equal to 0 is 9. That makes 9 your solution. Okay. What if I have x plus 7 times 2x minus 1 equals 0? What are the two factors there? Okay. X plus 7 is one of the factors. 2x minus 1 is the other factor. I want you to, this only works, so this principle of zero products, it has to have an equal 0 on one side of the equal sign. Okay, this is only true. It's only a multiplication that equals 0 where we get to take advantage. If I have a product and it equals 6, that doesn't tell me anything about the two factors going in. Okay, all right, so it has to equal 0. Here's my multiplication equaling 0. That means either x plus 7 is the 0 or 2x minus 1 has to be 0. And then we want to solve those two linear equations that we've made. So x equals negative 7 would be a solution. I can plug that in up here and I get a 0 out because it zeroes out the first factor. Does something else over on the right factor, but it doesn't matter because the first factor is 0. Or 2x minus 1 is 0. So to solve that, we would add 1 to both sides, divide both sides by 2. So 1/2 is also a solution. So 1/2, it doesn't make the first factor 0, but that's okay because it does make the second factor 0. So as long as one of the factors is 0, it's a solution. Okay, so then, right, it's kind of like I keep taking one step back or half a step back. So if I have x squared minus x minus 6 equals 0, then, right, what you want to do is factor because it, right, again, it's principle of zero products. I need a product, and to get a product, I factor. So how would you factor x squared minus x minus 6? It's a trinomial, so probably two binomials. Okay, so x minus 3 times x plus 2 equals 0. Here's your product. 0 is important. So either x minus 3 is 0 or x plus 2 is 0. So x equals 3 is one of our solutions, and x equals negative 2 is another solution. So before I go on, I just want to do a quick check so you trust me on this one. So, right, if I plug 3 into my original equation up here, I should get a true statement. So I'm going to get 3 squared minus 3 minus 6. This is my check. Is this equal to 0? So 3 squared is 9, minus 3 minus 6. So 9 minus 3 is 6, minus 6 equals 0. Okay? And you can do the same thing with a negative 2. Be careful, make sure you wrap that negative 2 in parentheses for the first one or you're going to get upset. Okay, so if your equation doesn't already look like one of these up here, then you're going to have to do that first. Okay, so here we go. So the first one I have is x times the quantity x minus 1 equals 12. Okay, well, it doesn't tell me anything, right, about the factors if it equals 12. I need this to be a 0 over here. So even if I so go ahead and subtract the 12 from both sides. So now we have the 0. But in order to factor this left-hand side, I need to get rid of those parentheses that are already there, right, so that I can get it all spread out and look for the factors. So x squared minus x minus 12 equals 0. Quadratic, so make sure, right, there's an x squared trinomial. So we're looking for a pair of factors that will multiply to negative 12 and add to negative 1. I know some of you guys are there already. So how about x minus 4 times x plus 3 equals 0? Right, that equals 0 just keeps tagging along. Here it is. I have a product equals 0. So that means one of those factors equals 0. So either x minus 4 is the 0. That leads to x equals 4 as a solution. Or x plus 3 is 0, and that leads to x equals negative 3 as a solution. And again, you can check these in the original. So if you want to check the negative 3, so here's our check. Negative 3 times negative 3 minus 1 is that equal to 12. So I've got negative 3 times negative 3 minus 1 is negative 4. Negative 3 times negative 4 does equal 12. Okay, I'm just checking one just because of time, but you can check them both if you'd like. Okay, here's our next one. 81x squared equals 25, so it is quadratic. Okay, it equals 25. Now there are other solution options for this, but we're going to go ahead and do it by factoring using this principle of zero products. So I'm going to subtract 25 from both sides because I need a 0 for it to work. And now it's a binomial, it's not a trinomial. So the way we factor binomials is we just have to see the pattern. Okay? And this one happens to be difference of two squares. So we'll write I always like to start with my parentheses and then I just kind of fill them in. Right, so when it's difference of squares, we get conjugates down here. So one with a plus and one with a minus. So it's kind of like the square root of these. So 9x, and then plus 5 and minus 5. And you can do a quick check here. So 9x times 9x, 81x squared. Positive 5 times negative 5, negative 25. Make sure your outer and inner cancel away because I don't have any x terms, so I can't get any if I were to multiply back out. Okay. So product equals 0. Awesome. Go ahead and set each factor equal to 0 and solve them. So subtract 5 and divide by 9. So negative 5/9. And let's see, add 5 and divide by 9. So negative 5/9 and positive 5/9 are our two solutions. Frequently, when you're solving quadratic equations, you are going to come up with two solutions. Okay? Sometimes it'll be one, sometimes it'll be no solutions, right? But 2 is the most common thing that'll happen for you. Okay, so let's go ahead and practice. If you want to pause and just try them on your own first, and then come back. I'm going to do them kind of quickly. Okay, so x squared minus 5x minus 14. So I set my parentheses up to get ready for my binomials. So my x's go in, negative, multiply to negative 14, add to negative 5x. So how about minus 7 plus 2? So then once you have your product, you set each factor equal to 0. And then solve for x. So add 7. So x equals 7 is one of your solutions. And x equals negative 2 is the second solution. Oh, my second one, look at me being all tricky right away, is actually, it's not quadratic because I have an a cubed. Well, guess what? It still works. Well, the factoring works a little bit differently because you have to start by factoring out that common a that all of your terms have. Make sure you leave behind a +1 for the last. It equals 0, so that's good. Here's a product right here, right? A times a squared minus 2a plus 1 equals 0. So that means, right, either a equals 0, that first one, there's a solution already, or a squared minus 2a plus 1 equals 0. Well, a squared minus 2a plus 1 equals 0. That we solved just like we've been doing. So we might want to try to factor. Let's see, a and a. Minus 1 minus 1. Okay, so a minus 1 equals 0. Or a minus, oh, they're both the same. Okay, so that leads to just the one extra solution, the second solution, a equals 1. This one, it might have had 3. If you have it a cubed as, right, your biggest term, it might be that you come up with 3 solutions. This one, this was a duplicate solution, so we don't have to write it down twice. Okay, here we go. Oh gosh, I got a bunch of stuff there. So I'm going to start by just getting rid of your parentheses. And now it's squared, so I need a 0. So I'm going to subtract 7 from both sides and add 2x to both sides. What does that all leave me? I have an x squared. I have negative 8x plus 2x, so that's minus 6x. And then minus 7. I've gotten rid of everything on the right, so that equals 0. Get my parentheses ready. X and x. Let's see, multiply to negative 7. Add to negative 6, so that looks like minus 7 and plus 1. So x minus 7 equals 0. Or x plus 1 equals 0. Once you get to that stage, a lot of times you can just write down your answer, right? So I'm going to squeeze them up here because I've kind of run out of room. So x equals 7 and x equals negative 1. Now, I'm not being very precise mathematically as I'm writing my solution sets. They are actually solution sets. It's a set of numbers, so I should be using my set braces, and I'm just bad about it. But if you wanted to be super duper correct, you could write your solution like this with some set braces. It's just the two individual numbers, so I wouldn't use interval notation. Right? I wouldn't use parentheses because then it would try to be an ordered pair or a point on the graph. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the set that consists of these two values. Okay, here we go. 3 more. Oh dear. Remember how we factor when our leading coefficient isn't 1. So 4 times negative 15 is negative 60. I'm going to multiply or add to get negative 4. That's going to be negative 10 and positive 6. So negative 10 times positive 6 is negative 60. Negative 10 plus 6 is negative 4. So this is the AC method. I don't know where I'm going to fit that. AC method. You can search for a video that will show you how to do AC method factoring. And then we go 4a squared minus 10a plus 6a minus 15. And then group. It does equal 0. I just don't have room. Greatest common factor in your first group is 2a. Leaves behind a 2a minus 5. Greatest common factor between 6a and negative 15 is plus 3. Leaves behind 2a minus 5. Yay, equals 0. I'll squeeze it in now. Common factor. Bring it out. 2a minus 5 times, the common factors that came out. 2a plus 3 still equals 0. Product equals 0. Awesome. So then we set each factor equal to 0. So 2a minus 5 equals 0. 2a plus 3 equals 0. Add 5. Sorry, and divide by 2. So one of my solutions is 5 halves. I'm just going to wave my hands at this other one. Subtract the 3, divide the 2. So negative 3 halves is your second solution. X minus 6 times x minus 6 is how that one factors. So this one has one solution. It's just repeated. So x equals 6 is the only solution. You don't have to write it twice. Okay, last one. It's already set up product equals 0. Be careful, right? Some of these might sneak in and you're just tempted. You see it and you start multiplying everything out, and then you're just going to have to unmultiply before you're done because you have to find that product again. So 3x equals negative 4, x equals negative 4 thirds, and add 1 to both sides and divide both sides by 2. Okay, so that's how you can solve quadratic equations by factoring.